Utopia, from the Greek for not a place. The concept of a utopia, or a perfect place, is not a new one. Sir Thomas More's 1516 book, Utopia, was his vision of a perfect place, a secluded island nation. The book described the fictional nation's legal, social, and political systems. European religious groups, such as the Shakers, were early precursors to the American Utopian movement. The Shakers were founded in the 1740s in Manchester, England. They were originally composed of Quakers, which led to their nickname, the Shaking Quakers. The Shakers believed that the best way to celebrate God was to dance, sing, and loudly play music. The Shakers advocated strict and total celibacy, as well as complete separation of the sexes. Men and women lived in separate houses and led separate lives, never seeing the other sex, except in church services where they danced. Sexual intercourse was strictly prohibited, so the Shakers kept their numbers even by adopting orphans and through conversion. A Shaker child was given the option to leave the community at age 21, similar to the Amish rite. At one point there were up to 7,000 Shakers in existence. Today there are less than 50. The early Shaker movement in America was headed by Ann Lee, known as Mother Ann by believers. She believed that sexual intercourse corrupted one's personal relationship with God, and so it was forbidden. The Shakers, who were mainly located in New England and New York, were widely ridiculed for their music and dance-filled services by contemporary religious movements, but they were praised for their distinctive style of furniture, which emphasized function over fashion. They lived a simple life, and their furniture reflected this. The exploration of America and the widespread European immigration to the new continent opened up new opportunities, and the blending of cultures created a new atmosphere ripe for growth. The old European order did not apply here, and those who wanted to escape religious and political persecution now had that opportunity. Utopian communities were seen as an escape for thinkers and writers of the time, who had grown weary of the dark realities of life. They imagined a perfect place, where humans were treated as equals, and where society could be perfect. Utopian communities were born out of this constant intellectual yearning. Most utopian communities had some grounding in religious philosophy or socialism. Though utopian communities were not by any means a new phenomenon, they truly began to proliferate in the new country's land, which was purchased from France. The Oneida community is an example of an idea far ahead of its time. When one thinks of free love, images of the 1960s, the Beatles, psychedelics, and unfortunate haircuts come to mind. The Oneida community, started in the mid-1800s, was an early example of this way of thinking. Founder John Noyes believed that the institution of marriage, and by extension, monogamy, was obsolete and irrational. Sexual intercourse, argued Noyes, should be, quote, as free and unrestrained as eating or drinking. Noyes believed that laws passed to prevent extramarital sex were irrational, as there were not laws against overeating. Sex, in Noyes's mind, was simply another urge to be satisfied, and should be elevated to spiritual status. He did not believe in complete and unrestrained sexual activity, but believed instead that religious ideas of monogamy were unrealistic. Children in the Oneida community would be a universal responsibility. The phrase, "it takes a village to raise a child," was never more true. Authorities, however, disagreed with Noyes, and he was arrested for adultery. He moved his community from Vermont to New York soon afterwards. The Oneida community's controversial stance on sex caused the community to be the target of scorn and ridicule, and external pressure on the community to disband increased. Membership dropped, but Noyes's insistence that his son be the new leader of the community, against popular opinion, caused the remaining members to be sharply divided. The community failed soon afterwards. The New Harmony community, which was founded in Indiana, was Robert Owen's culmination of a lifelong dream. Owen strongly believed that working conditions, especially for lower-class people, were completely inhumane. Owen believed that free public education would remedy many of society's ills and provide a means for lower-class workers to advance themselves up the social ladder. The first New Harmony community was founded in Scotland in 1812, where Owen's ideas about fair labor and education were put to the test. They succeeded, and the community prospered. Owen petitioned the English Parliament to set up replica communities across England. Parliament denied Owen's request. Owen then moved his ideas to the American frontier, where he founded the second New Harmony community. Owen's partner, Robin McClure, a wealthy Scotsman, bought 20,000 acres of land from a German religious leader. Their schools mixed students from all economic and social backgrounds, a first, as well as being the first to afford women equal positions in the community. New Harmony's ideas caught on, and people flocked to join. The population swelled. Some who came expected jobs to be given to them, while others wanted to establish their own individual utopian communities. When an attempt at forming a constitution was made, these divisions in the society were made clear and the community collapsed. Brook Farm was founded in Massachusetts in 1841 by a Unitarian minister named George Ripley. Ripley believed that America's path towards industrialization and separation of labor was destroying a sense of spiritual calling. Brook Farm was Ripley's answer. It blended manual labor with intellectualism, and it attracted some of the foremost minds of the age, including Nathaniel Hawthorne, the author of The Scarlet Letter. Brook Farm was designed to be a model community, one that would spread and re-revolutionize America's industrial towns. Unfortunately, it was a complete and miserable failure. What Ripley had failed to realize is that intellectuals do not know very much about farming and hard labor. Like the founders of Jamestown, Ripley had overlooked the need for experienced farm laborers in creating a farming town. Brook Farm eventually betrayed its own principles by stratifying the labor of the community, which is what kept people from being enlightened in the first place, according to Ripley. The main building of Brook Farm burned down in 1846, and the entire community dissolved soon afterwards. The American frontier was seen in many ways as a blank slate, where a new society and way of life could be created. This raw hunger for social perfection and utopian idealism had a perfect canvas on which to experiment. Though these communities failed, their effects are still with us today. Robert Owen's advocation of free public education has lived on. The Shakers' simple way of life and furniture is still desired, as has their belief that musical expression can bring one closer to God in the form of Christian rock. And Brook Farm's complete and staggering incompetence at managing a farm led to increased industrialization. Though they've long since burned down or disappeared, these communities' beliefs, principles, and mind-blowingly short-sighted planning are still with us today.